Do you know that I am always surprised, as an obstetrician? When women over 60 suddenly come to the emergency room, the cause is often a completely preventable problem. It's just that they believe masturbation is harmless and doesn't require attention. However, mistakes occur here, and they can lead to serious consequences. Believe me, these are the same three mistakes I frequently see in patients. Today, I will speak frankly about them. I want you never to make these mistakes again. The initial mistake is probably trivial, but one of the most dangerous: lack of lubrication. Many women over 60 experience vaginal mucosa dryness due to hormonal changes. Subsequently, masturbation without using lubricant or proper preparation can cause small tears. These tiny tears not only cause pain, but also serve as entry points for infection. A 64-year-old patient mentioned that she thought her burning pain was cystitis for several days. In the end, it was severe mucositis caused by tiny, undetected wounds. The following mistake is applying pressure instead of paying attention. Many women underestimate how sensitive their pelvic floor and mucous membranes become at this age. They may apply excessive pressure, use hard objects, or be subjected to time-related stress. As a result, pain, bleeding, or injury can occur, but these can be easily prevented. Masturbation should never be a violent act against one's own body. It should be done gently, consciously, and with respect. The third mistake is perhaps the most delicate one: silence. Many women do not have the courage to talk about issues after masturbation. They think it is embarrassing or not worth talking about. However, this silence can lead to infections, injuries, or even serious illnesses being treated too late. Today, I want to show you how to avoid these mistakes, and that masturbation can be safe, healthy, and beneficial even after the age of 60. Many women over 60 tell me, "I thought masturbation was no longer a topic at my age." But that is a mistake. With menopause, desires and intimacy do not disappear. They just change. The body needs more lubrication, more awareness, and sometimes new rituals. Ignoring these changes puts you at risk. One of my patients, a 67-year-old woman, came to the clinic with severe pain and mild bleeding. She had not been sexually active for a long time and suddenly started again, without any lubrication or preparation. The dry mucous membrane immediately tore. These small wounds led to infection and worsened rapidly. "I thought it would heal naturally," she said shyly. However, she did not seek help until the pain became unbearable. This is precisely the problem. Many women remain silent for a long time. The second common mistake I often see is using incorrect techniques, applying too much pressure, rushing, or using inappropriate tools. Some women use hard instruments that are not suitable for their bodies. As a result, bruises, swelling, and sometimes small tears deep in the vaginal wall can occur. The issue is not the desire itself, but the lack of kindness and knowledge about the sensitivity of the body at this age. Here is the third mistake: study. Women who have issues do not talk about it, neither to close friends nor to doctors. They think, "I'm too old for this," or "I've done something wrong." But in reality, it's the opposite. Those who ask questions and honestly discuss their symptoms are the ones who protect themselves best. I emphasize this: desire has no age. However, safety, caution, and openness are key to avoiding ending up in the emergency room waiting area. When talking to elderly patients, I always notice one thing: many people have never truly learned to understand their bodies. They have spent decades caring for children, partners, and family, and their own intimacy has often been suppressed or considered taboo. Suddenly, in their 60s or 70s, questions arise like, "What's happening to me? Why does everything feel so dry and sensitive?" These questions are important and deserve clear and respectful answers. A major mistake many women make is ignoring signs. The burning sensation, pressure, slight bleeding, these are often dismissed as normal. But believe me, normal does not mean harmless. All changes are signs that the body needs attention. A 70-year-old patient told me she had been living with recurrent itching for 3 months, thinking it was just dry skin. Eventually, it was revealed to be an infection, and it could have been treated more easily and sooner. The second mistake is clinging to old habits. Many women use the same stimulation methods as in their 30s, but the body in the 60s reacts differently. Mucous membranes become thinner, blood circulation slows down, and pelvic floor muscles weaken. Forcing the same intensity as before almost certainly leads to injury. The third mistake is often a lack of preparation. The modern body requires more time, more warmth, and more relaxation to be ready. People who start immediately overload sensitive structures. Masturbation is not a sprint. It is a delicate path. What I want you to understand is that your body is changing, but it continues to be a place of desire and intimacy. If treated with respect, masturbation can remain a source of joy even after age 60, and it may no longer be an urgent matter. Many patients say that they gave up their sexuality after menopause. They think desire is gone and that masturbation is pointless. But the body thinks differently. Without regular blood flow, tissues lose elasticity, mucous membranes become sensitive, and the risk of problems increases. Completely withdrawing can lead to stronger pain when you want to re-engage with intimacy later. Regret can be significant. I wish I had learned to treat myself differently earlier. The common mistake I often see is the use of inappropriate tools. Some women without knowledge pick up hard objects or use products that are not suitable for their bodies. This can lead to injuries accompanied by pain and embarrassment. A 69-year-old woman told me that she used a household item just once and then continued to bleed for several days. She was so embarrassed that she finally saw a doctor only after a few weeks. This embarrassment puts small injuries at risk. Proto opakui, safety begins with respect. Use only soft body-fitting tools and always use lubricant. Your body deserves care and is not improvisational. Another common mistake is tolerating pain. Many women think that a little discomfort is nothing to worry about. However, after menopause, even slight pain can be a warning sign of infection, fungal infection, or overly thin mucous membranes. Ignoring this can risk small issues developing into major problems. The truth is, desire should never hurt. There are times when it is harsh, times when it is intense, but it should never cause harm. And the key lies in rediscovering your body, without rushing, without taboo or guilt. Many women over 60 admit that they have lost a strong sense of their bodies. I was so focused on my grandchildren and housework that I forgot about myself, said a 72-year-old woman. It was only when problems arose that she realized intimacy is not just about desire, but also about care, blood circulation, and health. A common mistake here is to think of masturbation as merely play. But in reality, it is also a form of training for the pelvic floor and mucous membranes. However, if this training is not conducted frequently or properly, typical problems can arise. One patient told me that she hadn't felt intimacy for years. When she touched again at age 68, she immediately felt pain and bleeding. This was not because she did something wrong, but because the tissues were not prepared at all. Her biggest regret was, I wish I hadn't ignored my body for so long. Another common mistake I often see is ignoring one's own feelings. Some women feel pressure during masturbation, wanting to finish quickly, not wanting to feel anything, just not wanting to waste time. However, the body reacts differently. Muscles tense up and contract instead of opening. Desire is not born from pressure, but from patience. Those who rush ahead also damage not only their mucous membranes, but also their trust in their own bodies. The third and probably most serious issue is loneliness, which many people feel. It's not because masturbation is lonely, but because it is considered a secret. This shame causes illness. People living with secrets remain silent even when problems arise. And it is this silence that drives many women to seek my emergency assistance. My plea is as follows. Do not taboo masturbation and consider it a valuable part of your health. It is permitted. It is important. And it should be safe. What I find most dangerous clinically is prolonged hesitation. Many women feel a burning sensation, slight bleeding, or pain for weeks or months, yet they do not talk about it. I often hear it is too embarrassing. However, this silence can cause harmless small wounds to develop into serious infections. One patient had to undergo intravenous treatment due to a spreading infection. All of it was caused by overlooked small tears. Another mistake is that some women try to adapt rather than act. They frequently change their underwear, use intimate products, or reduce alcohol intake to avoid bladder irritation. However, this is not a solution. The problem is postponed and remains unresolved. A 70-year-old woman tearfully told me, "I have endured in silence for 5 years. I thought it was due to age." Many people are unaware. Postmenopausal bodies are particularly sensitive to dryness and excessive friction. Without protective measures, such as appropriate lubricating gels and moisturizing care, mucous membranes can dry out, thin, and become easily damaged. Masturbation without preparation can quickly turn into discomfort. And finally, the mistake of false shame in conversations with doctors appeared. Many women do not talk about their problems when they come for preventive checkups. "I didn't want to bother the doctor with such things," said a 68-year-old woman. However, it is precisely this honesty that is crucial. Only by talking can they receive help. My advice is clear. Silence does nothing but harm. Your body deserves honesty, respect, and care. Masturbation should not be a risk, but a safe and healthy experience. Many women I treat share a common pattern. They compare their current experience to the past. Before, everything moved faster. I would get wet without thinking, and I never felt pain. This comparison is one of the biggest mistakes because it causes women to feel disappointed when their bodies change after turning 60. Instead of embracing new feelings, they try to force youth back, which results in hurt. The current body needs more time, patience, and care. A 66-year-old woman told me, "I am so embarrassed that I can't function like I did in my 30s. This embarrassment made her anxious, and small bleeding occurred soon after. When she understood that the desire for aging is something different, she was able to open her heart again. This is exactly the key, not comparing, but continuing to be curious." The second mistake is ignoring the pelvic floor. Many women are completely unaware that masturbation is closely related to the pelvic floor muscles. These muscles support the bladder, uterus, and intestines. When they weaken, the risk of incontinence and pain increases. Regular gentle stimulation can help promote blood circulation, but it should only be done consciously and without strain. Here is the third mistake. Complete resignation. After the initial unpleasant experience, some women completely give up. They avoid all forms of desire out of fear. However, this makes the organization even more sensitive, worsens blood circulation, and exacerbates the problem. My first plea: don't give up. Your body will change, but your ability to feel desire, intimacy, and joy remains. Do not see masturbation as a thing of the past, but as an invitation to discover anew what you can do today. What repeatedly moves me is that many women associate intimacy with guilt. They say, "I'm too old," but this is a big misconception. Desire is not a privilege of youth. It is part of our humanity and continues until our last breath. The mistake lies in forbidding ourselves from what our bodies truly need. Without touch and love, not only does the body wither, but even the sense of femininity within us diminishes. A 71-year-old patient confided in me, "I always felt embarrassed when I felt desire. When my grandchildren grew up, I thought I had to bury this side of myself." A few years later, she came with pain and inflammation, not because of illness, but because she had ignored her body for a long time. This story is not uncommon. Another mistake is the lack of full body preparation. Many women focus only on quick stimulation. However, after the age of 60, the body's response slows down. Skin, mucous membranes, muscles, all require time to promote blood circulation and maintain elasticity. Skipping this process increases the risk of injury and leads to frustration instead of satisfaction. The third point is to avoid professional help. Many women fear being laughed at or criticized when talking about masturbation. However, good doctors know. Of course, this topic is related to health. Those who remain silent miss the chance to get solutions such as counseling, ointments, hormones, or simple exercises. I always tell my patients, embarrassment is more dangerous than any illness. Talk, ask questions, and seek advice. Because intimacy is not a luxury, it is part of your health. Many women say they have ignored minor ailments for years, only to end up in the emergency room suddenly. I thought a simple flush would heal naturally, said a 69-year-old woman. Ultimately, she suffered from a severe candida infection that could have spread unnoticed for weeks. This is precisely the mistake. Instead of staying silent out of fear or embarrassment, you should seek help early. Because almost all complications I see can be prevented with early attention. Another example. The woman in summer was using inappropriate tools. At first it was only slight irritation, but later it turned into scar tissue. She spoke through tears. I never had the courage to talk about it. It was only when the pain became unbearable that she sought help. These stories show how much taboos hinder women's self-defense. The most important thing is to communicate with the patient. Your body belongs to you and continues to live. However, it requires attention, kindness, and respect. Masturbation is not something to be ashamed of, but when done correctly, it can also promote health. The greatest risk is not desire itself, but silence. People who remain open, carefully confront themselves, and seek help at the right time turn masturbation from a danger into a source of strength. Summarizing these experiences, there are 3 patterns that lead to serious problems: underestimating dryness, pressure replacing kindness, and hiding issues. Especially this combination tends to unnecessarily take women over 60 to the emergency room. However, the good news is that these mistakes can be avoided with a little knowledge, caution, and the courage to open up. I remember a 74-year-old woman who visited me after a severe infection. She said, "If only someone had told me earlier about the importance of lubricant, this wouldn't have happened." Another 68-year-old woman said, "I was too embarrassed to talk about it, and silence was my biggest mistake." These words demonstrate how important awareness is. I would like to convey the following. Masturbation is not only permitted after the age of 60, but can also make an important contribution to your health. It promotes blood circulation, enhances bodily sensations, and supports mental health. However, this is only true if you respect yourself. Lubrication, patience, gentle movements, and willingness to talk about any issues, these are the real keys. And one thing to remember, your body is not a taboo. It belongs to you, at any age. If you have a problem, talk about it. If you're unsure, ask. Your desires, health, and dignity should be protected, not kept silent. So stay curious and be kind to yourself. Please subscribe to this channel so that we can continue to speak frankly about topics that others hide. Because it's to make intimacy in old age safe, fulfilling, and enlightening.